This book, this book was just a whole big yikes for me. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my June wrap-up. I read 23 books in the month of June, which I think is amazing, and I'm just so excited to talk to you guys about it. I'm so scared to edit this video. I know this video is going to be really long, so I'm kind of scared. So let's just get started. The first book I read in June, I feel like is a booktube classic. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it, and that is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just some hate to love goodness. If you don't know, hate to love is my favorite romance trope, 100%. I 100% get the Hating Game hype. It's well deserved. This book is based about two people, Lucy and Joshua, who are fighting for this job position, for a higher up position in their publishing company, I believe. There's only one spot and two of them are fighting for it. They really don't like each other, or so we believe. You know what happens in Hate to Love. I absolutely loved this book. It was so amazing. I really just loved the romance. It was just perfect. The relationship was just so cute. The realization of like, oh, maybe this other person's not so bad after all. I absolutely loved it. The movie is coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, but I don't really see the actors they picked for the Hating Game characters as the characters. But you know, I'm still gonna watch it, so I'm excited for that. The next book I read is also a booktube classic, and that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alare Sanez. You don't know how much time it took me to say that name, but it was a lot. Everyone talks about this book. Everyone loves this book. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really cute coming of age story. The romance was really cute. Them discovering their sexuality and coming to terms with it. I really loved it. The author's writing is really, really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. It was very poetic in a sense. I absolutely adored it. I 100% understand why this is some people's favorite young adult contemporary of all time. It just wasn't that for me, but I get it. I get the hype. It didn't do enough for me to give it a 5 stars. It was really cute. I liked the romance. It didn't hit that mark of a 5-star for me, but I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was The Bromance Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams, another really hyped up book on BookTube. I rated the book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was cute. I was kind of wary going into this book because it is a second chance romance, and I don't think I'm a fan of second chance romances, to be honest, but I really enjoyed this book. It's basically about a guy who's been married for about a few years, and the romance is kind of, you know, not where it used to be, and he's really trying to fight for it, but his wife wants a divorce, but he kind of makes a deal with her. If it doesn't get better in 3 months, you can divorce me and have whatever you want. So he joins this bromance book club where they read romance books to get relationship advice. It was so good. This is definitely a rom-com romance. The comedy in this book it was truly amazing. I really loved it. I was really rooting for this couple to get together and, you know, to find their spark again. I really, really enjoyed it. The next book I read was Undercover Bromance by Alyssa K. Adams. This is the second book in the companion novel series of the Bromance Book Club. I think I enjoyed this book better than I enjoyed Bromance Book Club, to be honest, because this had hate to love. Again, if hate to love's there, I'm there. Like, I just can't get enough of hate to love. I still rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. This book takes place with one of the other members of the Bromance Book Club that we saw in the first book, and the sister of the main guy's wife in the first book. Wow, what a lovely explanation, Chinema. Bear with me, I'm sorry. I don't remember anyone's names, so these are the descriptions y'all are gonna get. Stick with me though. Anyway, started off with hate to love. Basically, they meet in the restaurant where the girl works at, and he gets her fired. So she absolutely despises him and hates him. Something happens at work, and they kind of have to work together to solve it. And again, on the way, they fall in love. If you want some hate to love goodness, I recommend this book. The next book I read was Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is my second Tiffany D. Jackson book. My first book of hers was her debut novel, Allegedly, which I really, really loved. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It's basically about a girl who her best friend Monday is missing and no one seems to care but her, and she's trying to figure out what happened to Monday because Monday's mom is not telling her anything, the teachers are not really doing anything, the principal's not really doing anything, the police is not really doing anything, and she's just really confused. They've been best friends since they're really, really young, and she just wants to know what is going on and why does no one seem to care about Monday being missing. This book was so well done. Oh my gosh. Tiffany G. Jackson is known for kind of doing young adult mysteries / contemporaries, where in all it's a young adult contemporary, but she kind of weaves in a mystery into it. And I truly adore her for that. It's so good. And then she weaves in very important topics about how Black people are treated in America. This story kind of talks about how Black girls missing are not given the same time, not given the same care compared to when white girls are missing. No one takes the main character seriously until it's too late, and this book is just wonderfully done. Tiffany G. Jackson really, really just hits the mark with this book. The next book I read was My Sister the Serial Killer by Onyekon Braithwaite. I talked about this book in my mid-year freakout tag. I have that link down below if you haven't seen it yet. This book was just a whole big yikes for me, to be honest. I really expected it to be one of my favorite thrillers of this year. The way everyone talks about it, everyone raves about this book. All in all, it lived up to none of its potential, so that's great. I rated this book a 2 out of 5 stars. That rating speaks for itself. This book was not a thriller. I feel like that was my main issue with this book, is that it was marketed as a thriller where it's not. What was the reason for labeling your book as a thriller when it is nothing of the sort? I don't get the point. And that was my main issue with this book. It was marketed as this like, oh my gosh, her sister's a serial killer, what's gonna go down? And nothing went down. If you want to read this book, go for it. I'm just gonna warn you, there's nothing thrillery in this book. So do with that what you will. Go read it at your own caution, because at this point, I have nothing else to say. Next book I read was Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazimin. This book was amazing. I rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It was truly incredible. It was so emotional. I didn't think it was going to be a hard-hitting contemporary. I thought it was going to be a little bit more on the fluffy side, but no, it was hard-hitting. It was so hard-hitting. By the end of this book, I was truly sobbing. It hit me so hard. This book is basically about 2 teenagers in New York City in the 80s. 2 of them are kind of best friends, and then there's this other guy who just moved here from Iran. Yeah, it's just kind of a messy love triangle where the guy who just moved here doesn't really know about sexuality. He thinks he might be gay, but that's not really accepted in his culture. So he's kind of running away from that in a sense. So he kind of starts dating the main girl, even though he does have feelings for the other guy. Also, it has a really important conversations about the AIDS pandemic in the 80s and how people with AIDS and gay people in general were viewed in the 80s because of the misinformation given to the people in the public. I didn't expect those topics to be said in this book. I don't read synopses, so it probably does say in the synopsis that it's about AIDS, but you know, who reads before they read? You know, I don't do that, so moving on. But it was just such an amazing read. I really truly adored it. The characters were just so amazing. I just wanted them to all be happily together, and I really love all of these characters. It was just truly amazing. It had very important conversations, but it was also very well done, contemporary. The next book I read was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, another 5-star romance I read this month. Y'all were hyping up Christina Lauren. I heard Christina Lauren. Every romance recommendation video I heard Christina Lauren. I was like, you know what? Is this woman really as good as you guys say she is? She is. This book was amazing. This book was amazing. This is another hate to love romance. It's basically about 2 people, Olive and Ethan. They attend their sister's / their brother's wedding, and everyone gets food poisoning except those 2 because they didn't eat from the wedding buffet. And Olive's sister and Ethan's brother wants those 2 to go enjoy their honeymoon because they don't want it to go to waste because they can't go on it since they have food poisoning and it's non-refundable and they can't change the date. But those 2 hate each other, so it was so good. It was so good. I'm starting to realize I love books involving weddings in any type of way. I really enjoyed this book. I really loved the banter between these 2, and I really loved the romance between the 2. Ethan and Olive were just so cute. I really loved how they didn't want to like like each other, and even though they both found each other attractive, they're kind of like, I still hate you. The hate's kind of, washed away, and it was just a very, very intense romance. I really loved it. The next book I read was No Exit by Taylor Adams. Another 5-star read. I had a lot of 5-star reads this month. This was a really good reading month for me. But this book was literally out of this world. Another book I talked about, my mid-year freakout tag. It was truly amazing. And if I had to choose any one of these books that I read this month to become a movie, I know The Hating Game is really becoming a movie, but that's not the point. If I had to choose any book to become a movie, I would 100% choose this book. I don't know how this hasn't become a movie yet. It would be the perfect thriller. I went into it thinking I would like it, but I didn't know I'd love it this much. The main character, Darby, was that girl. I loved her. She was just really an amazing main character. I feel like in thrillers like this, you need the main character who you can root for, and I was rooting for her from beginning to end. This book is about Darby, who her mom has cancer. She's kind of driving up to see her mom before she goes into surgery. But there's a snowstorm and she gets caught up in the snowstorm, so she has to go to the rest stop and wait until the snowstorm kind of dies down. She looks into this van window because she thinks she sees a cage and she's kind of very confused, but she sees a girl in this cage and she's kind of like, what the hell is going on? So she has to figure out what she needs to do to help this girl get home safe. Everything she did was so smart, so well thought out. She was literally under stress. Her mom has cancer. Her mom was in surgery, but she was still doing the thing. Like, oh, I love her. This book was so fast-paced. I read it in the nighttime. I finished it in the nighttime. It's the definition of like a fast-paced, takes place in a one-day thriller. Just amazing. The next book I read was Pride by E.B. Zaboy. This is my favorite new to me author of this year, definitely. Her writing is just really beautiful. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. If the romance was a little more fleshed out and developed, I would have given this book 5 out of 5 stars. If she would have made this book a little bit longer, I think this book would have been absolutely perfect. It was still a really enjoyable young adult contemporary romance, and this book did have hate to love, so I already went into it thinking I was gonna really like it. This book's basically about a girl and a guy, and the guy's really rich, and he's kind of moving into the neighborhood in this really big house, and the main girl kind of hates him, but on the way it turns into love. It's hate to love. What do you expect? This is supposed to be like a Pride and Prejudice remix. I don't think it has too many similarities to Pride and Prejudice, to be honest. If you went into this book really wanting a Pride and Prejudice remix, I don't think you're going to be satisfied, but I didn't really care because Pride and Prejudice is not my favorite book ever, so I was happy with what I got. This book talks about really important topics of gentrification and the effects of that, and I think E.B. Zaboy did it very well. I just really love the romance of these two people. It's hard for me to hate to love. It's really hard. I just don't think I've read a book that had a hate to love that I hated. I don't think it exists. The next book is a very random reread, but it's The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I couldn't really tell you why I reread this book, but I did. This is a 5-star read for me. I think I want to reread this because I was kind of, disappointed with this other thriller I read last month, which was Harvey Fear. And Chanel from Chanel Time made a rant review about his other book called Before She Knew Him, and she gave it like a 1 star, so I was just like, I didn't want to read that book, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go reread a Peter Swanson book that I know is good. And this book was just amazing. I feel like this is the thriller I recommend to literally everyone. I recommended it to my sister and she loved it, so I feel a little proud of myself for that. There's so many twists and turns. Peter Swanson really does his thing with this book. I feel like this is his best work in my opinion. The next book I read was Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book was stunning. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It's based about 3 teens in the 90s who their best friend / the main girl's brother died, and he really wanted to be an up-and-coming rap artist. So after his death, they kind of want the world to know his music. They kind of do a shady thing of presenting their dead friend's music as someone who's alive. They really believe and think that he wanted the world to know his songs, know his music, and know his message that he has in these songs. This book was really amazing. I love the 3 teens, their perspectives, their friendship. Like I said, Tiffany D. Jackson always weaves in these very important topics in her books. I just absolutely adore it. She never disappoints me. I feel like Tiffany D. Jackson can write about literally anything, and I'll be here for it. The next book I read was The Boyfriend Project by Farah Rakan. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was really enjoyable. It reminds me of John Tucker Must Die. She dates this guy who's dating 2 other girls, and she doesn't know that, and they kind of figure it out. She meets those 2 girls from that, and she develops a friendship with both of them. So that's the only good she got out of that situation. So they kind of make a boyfriend pact for 6 months. They don't want to be in a relationship because they want to better themselves. She kind of meets a guy from work, but she doesn't want to get with him because of the boyfriend pact she made with those 2 other girls. So it was really cute. I really liked the friendship those 3 girls had. I absolutely loved the girl power of it all. Some people say the romance was a little rushed in this book. I don't know, I enjoyed it. The next 2 books are my failed attempt of participating in the Queer Blackathon. I only read 2 books in 48 hours. I wanted to make a video on it, but I only read 2 books, so that didn't happen. The first book I read was Odd One Out by Nick Stone. I guess book 4 out of 5 stars. This is my first Nick Stone book. I know a lot of people were introduced with Nick Stone by reading Dear Martin. Well, that's just not how it happened for me. This was a really messy book, but in a good way. I really think the young adult contemporary genre needs more mess in their books. They need more drama. I don't know, maybe I'm just a messy person. This book was basically like a very messy love triangle again. It was a guy, 2 girls, they were all friends, they're in this friend group. But at one point, the guy likes this girl, then he starts liking this girl, but then the girl starts liking this girl, and the girl starts liking this girl, and then the girl starts liking, it's just a lot. But it was really entertaining to watch, to read. What is my mind? Anyways, I really love how Nick Stone depicted sexuality as not just like a cut and dry thing. I just can't put it in this one box. This book was again very messy, but I really loved it. I feel like it was done very well. I feel like Nick Stone really still fleshed out the characters, fleshed out each of the romances, because at one time I was shipping literally everyone with everyone. So she did that very well. If you like messiness, read this book, please. If you love teen dramas, read this book, please. The next book in my Queer Blackathon failed attempt was Hurricane Child by Karen Callender. I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. At some points in this book, I was really here for it. At some points, it was just really boring. It was like no in between. So like it was like a 5-star and 1-star combined made a 3-star. This book is basically about this girl who lived on the Virgin Islands, I believe, and she was a hurricane child, meaning she was born during a hurricane. And her mom left her at a young age, and she wants to know why. This book had semi-magical realism, and I think magical realism and me just don't mix well. I just don't think magical realism is like a genre for me. I really love how she depicted a sapphic character with a middle grade novel. Books and Lala rated the book a 5 out of 5 stars. So I really wanted to expect a 5-star read for me. It wasn't that, but it wasn't horrible. So I just rated it 3 stars. Did my camera cut during filming? Yes. Are we gonna pretend it didn't happen? Yes. The next book I read was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Riley Sager really took us on some twists, some turns. It does give me some American Horror Story, murder house / hotel vibes. It was a really good thriller. I feel like the plot just really hit you. I did not expect it in the slightest. It was really well done. It's basically about a girl who gets this like job listing in a newspaper about apartment sitting in this really expensive apartment complex, and she's kind of like, this seems too good to be true, and it pays like a lot, so it's kind of like, wait, what's going on? But she gets the job and she's really excited because she really needs the money, but everything is not what it seems. It takes a very dark turn and it's a lot, but Riley Sager really did his thing with this. I'm so excited to read more of Riley Sager's books. Next, I read 2 NetGalley arcs, and now looking back on it, I was like, should I requested them? But I already did, so let's move on. And the first one is Take Me With You by Tara Altebrando. This book was something. I don't know what that something was, but it was something. I gave this book a 1 out of 5 stars. It truly was not good at all. This book is basically about 4 teenagers who are put into this room. They don't know why, but there's a device which lights up and it's like, take me with you or else. You think with a plot like this, the device would make them do like entertaining things, like illegal acts, like dangerous things. You'd think that happened. The author does none of that. It was very boring. I'm just like, with this plot, it could have been so entertaining. What the device made them do was so boring. And you think with the trope of strangers being put together and they don't know why, you'd think the author would take the time at the end to explain why those strangers were specifically picked. But again, she doesn't do that. So, just amazing writing from Tara. I just really didn't like this book. The next arc I read was An Oxford Revenge by Maxine Berry. I read this book a 2 out of 5 stars. I went into this book thinking it was like a regular smuggler thriller. It was actually an erotic thriller. It's basically about a woman who goes to Oxford to seek revenge on the professor who she believes drove her brother to suicide. And I thought that's what we were gonna get. And we got her sleeping with him, and I'm just like, that's not what I wanted or what I asked for. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars because I still enjoyed it. I was kind of hate reading it, and it was still kind of enjoyable. It had parts where I was actually interested in what was going to happen. So I didn't hate it all in all, but it just wasn't good in the slightest. So I still had to give it 2 stars. The next book I read was Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. I rated this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It really was a breath of fresh air after the 2 books I read, because this book was amazing. Basically about a guy named Felix who is trans. He's 16 years old and he's still trying to find himself. At the end of it, I just really wanted Felix to be happy. I wanted him to find the love he so craved. I wanted him to be just content and satisfied and just be loved and loved. I just wanted all that for him. I was just rooting for Felix from beginning to end. I just really loved him. I wanted the best for him. I just wanted him to be happy. And at the end of the book, I was crying. I don't know if I was crying tears of joy or tears of sadness, but I was crying. I don't remember why, but I was crying. The next book I read was The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's based about 3 teenagers who are dealing with grief in their own way. One of them is dealing with the death of their twin sister. One of them is dealing with the death of their best friend, and one of them is dealing with the death of their ex-boyfriend. So it was really well done. I really liked it. This book was just amazing. This cover is stunning. I really enjoyed it. It was a hard-hitting ride. The next book I read was Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I rated this book a 3 out of 5 stars. This is very much a young adult paranormal romance classic. For some reason, I waited this long to read this book, even though I watched the movie. Even though this book had a very I'm not like other girls main character, I still enjoyed her perspective. I feel like I had a hate to love relationship with this book in general, because sometimes it was very addicting. I really wanted to know what happened, but sometimes I'm just like, what the heck is going on and what is this book doing? So it's just a lot. It was very cheesy and kind of cliche, but I was here for it. I really enjoyed it. But there was kind of a problematic issue in this book. It's kind of like, yikes about. For some reason, Dimitri is 7 years older than Rose. Like, Rose is 17 and he's 24. Yikes. Just a big old yikes. It just like, ugh. It made me very uncomfortable. And I was just like, what was the reason? Like, if they wanted their relationship to be like taboo, he was already her mentor and she was his student. So that was enough taboo. I just didn't like it at all, and it just felt very unnecessary and very just yikes about it. Just very, very yikes about it. The second to last book I read this month was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hilbert. The first 100 pages for me in this book was kind of like, I don't really get the hype. It was kind of like very boring. And then I hit the halfway mark of the book. I was just like, okay, I 100% understand. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The point of the book where I started to like it, if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about, where Red and Chloe start to exchange emails, and the emails are very bantery and very fun and very funny. And it was really enjoyable, and I really loved it. At that point, I was like, okay, I see where this book is going. I'm starting to like it. The book is based about a woman named Chloe. She has this very serious illness where she has severe pains all over her body that she can't control and holding her back from doing all the things she's wanted to do. So she makes a list of things she needs to do so she can get a life. So, and her landlord, Red, which she kind of hates, helps her. And, you know, sparks fly and they fall in love. I feel like the relationship between Red and Chloe is very healthy, very cute, very adulty. It just didn't hit that mark of a 5 stars for me. And that's fine. It was still very enjoyable. I still really would recommend this book to a lot of people. But again, it just wasn't that romance book for me. I get it though. The next book I read, the last and final book, the 23rd book I read this month, was The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I've talked about this book in my Black Booktuber tag. I'll have that link down below. But this book was so good. I rated the book a 5 out of 5 stars. This book is about this woman who gets left at the altar, and 3 years later, she's a wedding planner, and she gets this job opportunity. It's like a 6-figure deal, and she really wants it, but she has to work with their ex-fiance's brother on like this project before she can get this job. And it's truly just chef's kiss. It's really amazing. Both these characters just don't want to be attracted to one another. They don't want to fall in love with each other, but they just do, and they can't help it. I just really, really love this book. It was so good. The comedy was, oh my gosh, amazing. I was truly just laughing out loud. And then the romance was truly amazing. I just really wanted the characters to be together. For some reason, I did not know that the love interest was white in this book. For some reason, I thought he was Hispanic. I don't know why. But I did. I got into halfway until like they literally explicitly said he was white. I was like, oh. I think that's just a case of my brain cells not working. This is such a 5-star book for me. I read a lot of romance this month that I love, and this is definitely one of them. So we reached the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking about all the 23 books I read this month. If you did, give it a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more of these videos. And bye!